I have an experience to share. It was a two-part experience. The first part of this experience took place on a college campus, and I was laying on my back on the second level of the campus. I was looking up at the sky, and I had rolled over. I rolled over and got onto my elbows, and to my right-hand side, I saw this individual who was totally exposed. In other words, they were like naked, what looked like they were naked, but they had these wings on their back, and they sort of looked like tattered, almost like leathery kind of wings. And I was watching this individual, and I got this very strong impression that they were something like a type of king of vampires. They were very high ranked in this vampire society. And I was watching them on the second level, and they would swoop down to the first level, and I could see the grass and the cement. So this indicates physical realm happenings. And he would swoop down from the second level and scoop people up, and it was like women, children, men, all kinds of people, just people. But the idea is as he would lift them up and take them away, he was sacrificing, torturing, butchering, eating these people. It was sort of turned into like a kind of sport for him. And I knew immediately as I saw him doing these things that the idea of me seeing him at all in the first place was that I was to take part in the confrontation that was going to happen with him, to see if he could either switch around or continue with his destructive kind of path. And what was very interesting at this moment, as I was coming to this recognition of the confrontation to take place or to come, this lady came from my left-hand side, this like a principal kind of character. It's very interesting. I'm saying it now, the principal. There's these little ideas there. But anyway, she came from the left, and she immediately looked at me and she said to me, "Are you okay with this?" And I was looking at that question. I didn't answer right away, but I was kind of looking at it, and I could see that I had to agree to take part in the confrontation, or else it would not take place at all. It was almost like it was my assignment. So I really had to decide that, okay, I wanted to go through with this, because there was this again, huge confrontation to take place. And I could see also too that it was almost as if I had some kind of agreement with this being, or maybe like some kind of emotional attachment that allowed him to operate in such a manner. So the severing of my agreement would enable not only the confrontation, but perhaps even his displacement. So anyways, I answered this lady, this principal character. I just said, yeah, I'm fine with it. It doesn't matter to me. Basically just is whatever. And so she kind of turned around, she took off, and the scene transpired into what looked like a giant cop chase. It was sort of dramatic in that way. But eventually we ended up confronting him after he had sent a couple of these like henchmen. They were these kind of they were more like creature characters, different things. Like one was a giant bat, and there was a little bit of a gruesome sense to them in the way that they looked and such. But it was very interesting that they really didn't pose any resistance, that they sort of stood in our way, because I was with like a police force, like a special kind of police force. But even though they stood in our way, these little henchmen, we sort of just almost like flung them out of the way, like as if they were swing doors. They didn't really pose an opposition type of thing. And so anyways, after we moved them out of the way or off to the side, we ended up confronting this being, and we basically gave him the choice, are you going to change your ways? Are you going to keep destroying people? Are you going to keep on this kind of destructive path, as I said? And he was kind of in love with his position. He really didn't want to step up. He wasn't interested in what we had to say at all. In fact, he tried to attack. So we just ended up, it was almost like we clipped his wings off, and then he kind of almost like seemed like he crumbled into like nothing without this position or this power, you might say. And that was the idea of the first experience. And so I went through that whole scene, and I had written it down. And then a couple of nights ago, I had another experience in pertaining to the vampire society, because at one point they were wanting to step up. And there's different factions and different groups, but it seems that this particular group of them is more malintended. They have more of like a malicious intent. And so anyways, now was a point that because I had taken on this big confrontation and I was willing, really I had to decide. It came another decision to where it looked like I was entering into a kind of underground basement or something like that, went into like a very deep underground. And I could perceive just how deep and kind of dark it was. And it was very interesting that as I took the first few steps, it was almost like I hit a type of wall or like a type of resistance, and not in a literal sense, but in a it was something within myself. And I immediately got this intuitive impression that I have to decide to go through this experience, because if I don't, then there's no guarantee that it would work. But if I was willing to go through the experience, if I really decided, even I had to decide to be willing to be destroyed also too, was an idea that I had to be willing to give my life to go and confront these beings at their little home base or whatever, in order for this to be successful at all. Or I could basically just turn around and not do it at all. But I had to be 100% willing, or else I could not go any further. So that was a very interesting little test there. But anyways, I decided that I was willing to just go through it. And so I was able to get deeper and deeper. And as I ventured deeper, I was accompanied by this female character. She was helping me navigate through these little tunnels and such. And what we had discovered was that the vampires were abducting scientists, physical level scientists, and different characters that they wanted to experiment on. And I knew that part of our assignment also too was not only to confront these beings and see if any of them are willing to come around, or it seemed almost even like a cleaning house, that these beings were just so malicious that it was almost like it was just time for them to get out of the way for bigger things to take place. And in part of that experience also too was to rescue these scientists as well, and these other beings that they had like abducted. So this was like an ongoing series, because I could perceive that, or could see that that was not the end of it. So I'll give little updates as it goes on, but those are the first two parts so far.
Amazing stuff, Jeremy. Yeah, it takes a whole heck of a lot, doesn't it? And we've just got a whole lot more to go through too, just to get somewhere. But that's terrific. And these will be very interesting stories in your book as people read them. Yes, you and Kevin and all of us. Yes, thank you so much.